Hello, welcome to this Friday's edition of the Cultural Capacity Podcast. I'm Gonzalez-Howard, and today we're going to be talking about wellness in the workplace and how you can integrate movement into your day. So I want to start off by saying I served as a nurse in the healthcare industry for about 17 years. I took an early retirement from nursing about 2 years ago, and the reason for that, the reasons are varied. We're not going to get into that so much today, but I want to just start off by saying I started dancing and moving my body in that way when I was a young child, continued through high school and into college, and I would have loved to have danced professionally in some capacity, but because at the time that I was making these decisions, I was leaning towards trying to pick a career that was conducive with motherhood and sort of not having to travel like many performers and entertainers have to do. I chose nursing as my career, something that was stable and also I knew could bring in a reliable income for me over the years, which it did, and it has, and that has served me well. I'm not here to tell everybody that I'm working on my career as a professional dancer right now in any way, shape, or form, but what I want to talk about is why I quit dancing. Now, keep in mind, dancing was something that I did any chance I could get, whether it was in my bedroom or my basement, or in the backyard practicing different things, or practices, long extended practices after school every day, or dance competitions on the weekend. I was dancing almost every day of the week as a child and into my young adulthood. And when I got into college, I continued to do things like hip hop, and I would take various dance classes, partnered dancing classes, things like that. And what I started to notice as I kind of graduated college was I didn't have time in my life for that kind of thing anymore. It seemed frivolous at a certain point to be investing time and energy into something that I wasn't going to be utilizing professionally in any way, shape, or form. And even though it brought me enjoyment, it was one of those things that kind of got pushed to the wayside. Instead, I started trying to do a gym membership, discovered that I absolutely hate weightlifting, and had some shame around that. I would try to pop into some of the yoga classes and Pilates classes if they had them, when they had them. Our local gym didn't really have many, and the instructors weren't super experienced, so kind of let that fall at the wayside. Started running a little bit. I really did enjoy that until I had my second baby, and then it just became logistically near impossible to find time or space to do that. All that to say is I continue to stay active in different ways, but I quit dancing, right? And keep in mind, this is something my body had known ever since I was, again, a young girl. My muscles and my body had developed as a dancer's body. And so when I stopped doing these things, my body took a major toll, unbeknownst to me. While I was a very active person, I would work 12-hour overnight shifts in the ER, which is a very active job. You're constantly on your feet, constantly running around, lifting patients, doing all the things. I wasn't getting the same type of integrated workouts that I did as a younger person. Fast forward several years into my nursing career, I quit ER nursing. I went into kind of labor and delivery, and that was also an active process, although the unit that I worked on at the time wasn't very busy. And so because I worked nights, a lot of my nights were spent sitting at the nurse's station, stocking rooms, cleaning, doing things of that nature, not high intensity. I was gradually starting to put on weight at that point, and I thought I had it under control. I was doing things at home like gardening and walking the dog and hauling kids around. You know, at a certain point, I had 3 kids that were all 16 months apart. and all of them were in diapers and car seats at certain points at the same time, and I was just tired, and my body felt tired and not full of energy. And so I wasn't trying to look for extra ways to work out. I was just trying to survive, right? Fast forward now, my kids are a bit older. They are all very independent. My oldest is a sophomore in high school. My youngest is a 7th grader. And I have time. I have time on my hands now to kind of re-explore. I had gotten diagnosed with an autoimmune disorder about a year ago now. Totally rehauled my diet, have been increasing my yoga sessions. I do yoga every day. I try to get onto the floor every single day so that I know that as I grow older, I'm going to be able to continuously, get up from the floor. Good practice and habit, but still not quite cutting it. Have a lot of joint pain with my autoimmune disorder, and certain times of the month when hormones kick in and such, I notice it greatly. So I have good days and bad days. If you have any autoimmune problems, you know what this is like. Sometimes there's a reason for it. Sometimes you eat something you're not supposed to and you have a flare-up. Or sometimes it can be purely hormonal or stress related, and that's kind of hard to control. So I decided once the school year started, I was going to try to find a dance program or class. Originally, I was thinking I was going to go to a studio, but not be able to find a studio that's close by that offers what I'm looking for. They focus more on younger children. I'm a 41-year-old person trying to get back into dance, which is probably pretty specialized. But anyways, all I like to say, there's nothing close to me. But I found a program through an app that I like, and I started doing it about 3 weeks ago. And I was texting my sister about it this morning, and I just said, I just went through my menstrual cycle, and even during this menstrual cycle, which is typically like the worst feeling point of my month, I felt better than my best day over the past 2 years. Like my good days, my quote unquote good days, where I'm not feeling pain, I'm feeling light on my feet, I'm feeling energized. I feel better like this week that I've been on my menstrual cycle than I did on my best days for the last couple of years. All that to say, I have been very consistent. I've been doing this program for 5 days a week. It only takes 20 to 30 minutes a day. I can schedule it to a calendar within the app. I complete it. It doesn't feel like too much of a strain, but yet it's working muscles and reminding my body of how I used to work it back in the day, and how I used to, kind of expend any latent energy that was in my body out through dance. So if you have a dance history, you'll understand what I'm saying. If you don't, this still applies. So today, for our workplace wellness episode, I want you to think about ways that you can move your body that brought you joy back in the day, back as a child, whether that were a certain sport that you were doing, whether weightlifting, running, you name it. I want you to think back to that and think about the reasons that you stopped doing it. Many of you hopefully have continued through your passions into adulthood and middle age even, and older. Hopefully you have continued those things, but sometimes we tell ourselves again, like I told myself for years, that I was doing enough, I had so much on my plate, I didn't have time. Those were all things that were true, but my body also needed something different that I wasn't giving to it, something I knew as a young child that I loved, and that it was just intrinsically in me to need to do this, to expend energy and be a happy, healthy, mobile person, not walking around in pain. So yeah, that's a victory for me. I wanted to share about that, and I wanted to encourage you, if you are of an age where it feels like pointless to kind of like try to get back into this type of thing, or you feel silly. Like I felt really silly the first couple days that I was doing this, 'cause I'm like in my living room by myself. You know, when I would practice back in the day, it was an actual dance studio. We had a bar, you know, there were other people there. You're all kind of like working together for the common goal of like, you know, perfect form or whatever you're working towards. And it does feel kind of silly, and psychologically it feels pointless because there's no end game to this. I'm not going to try to like go audition for something, or like, you know, there really is no end game. It is purely for me. But the way that I feel, I'm really okay with that. I feel really, really good. I'm only in, again, the third week of this, and the app that I have, you know, has lots of challenges every month, and I'm really, really excited to be working out again. It feels not like a chore. It's something I look forward to every day. So I just wanted to, talk about how much this has increased my well-being and my feeling in my body, but also my productivity, my general outlook on things. I know all this logically. I have learned all of these things over the years. Exercise is important, but again, I was exercising in ways that weren't necessarily, you know, they're good for my body. Gardening is good for my body. It's strenuous activity. Takes a lot out of you. I walk at least an hour every day, you know, but again, my body needs more than that. So I'm going to give it what it needs. For my situation specifically, and for those of you with autoimmune disorders, it is something that is hard to explain to people who don't experience it, and that's okay. They don't need to understand necessarily, but it's just something that we ourselves have to be aware of, that, hey, you know, our body responds maybe in different ways than most bodies do, or that sort of thing, and take the time and the energy and effort to do the things that your body actually needs. And that is different for every person. So me sitting here talking about how I'm doing these workouts for 20 to 30 minutes a day in addition to walking an hour a day, like that's a lot. That's an hour and a half of time. So not everybody has that, and I understand that, but even just trying to set aside 10 to 15 minutes a day as a goal, to start noticing how that feels after a couple weeks of time of being consistent with that is super, super important. So thank you for joining me in my sweaty state on this beautiful Friday. The Cultural Capacity Podcast we put out every Friday. One time a month I come on and talk about workplace wellness. My sister will come on. She's got some really beautiful high-level interviews with professional people in the education world, in the human resources world, lots of different sectors, people that have come out with books recently, etc. So once a month we do that. It's usually the last Friday of the month, and then we promote through the following month as the featured voice. And then our in-between Friday episodes are kind of things that we're noticing in our industry. We do consulting with different companies and schools, and we try to work toward building culture and sustainability, practicing, you know, our different sectors, our different expertise in a way that's ethical and strives to include and serve everyone. So anyhow, I hope you all have a beautiful weekend, and I hope this is encouraging, and I hope it's not overwhelming. When I think about the state of my body as a 20-something-year-old, you know, as a teenager, then going into my 20s, and then how much it changed with, you know, having 3 kids, and then getting a little bit older, going through some stressful, traumatic situations, holding that trauma in my body, then it manifesting as an autoimmune problem, you know, that has been a journey, and a lot of you might relate to that. But there's light at the end of the tunnel. Do what feels good in your body. Try to stray away from the habits that cause inflammation in your body, cause pain in your body, and try to fill yourself with good, nutritious, healthy, whole foods that nourish your body, instead of feeding the machine. So yeah, if you have any, thoughts on things that you do that are maybe unique to fuel your body in different ways, or to exercise your body in different ways, leave them in the comments, because people are always looking for new things that help facilitate their general well-being. I know we're all on our phones a lot, and I was reluctant to download another app, but it's really, really helping me. So anyways, have a great day.